Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Joshua Friedman on the line, and he's co-founder and CEO of 6 Seconds. Joshua, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, Josh. So I'm excited to get into today's topic. So learning about emotional intelligence in leadership for anybody that's been listening to this for a long time, this show, I should say. I'm a big EQ guy. I think my EQ hopefully is a little bit higher than my IQ, but that has yet to be seen. But that being said, Joshua, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all with our Mission Matters Minute. So, Josh, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Josh, what mission matters to you?
Well, at 6 Seconds, we're working to increase the world's emotional intelligence. And I'm afraid to say we're not making enough progress. What our data shows is that emotional intelligence over the last decade has gone down. And in many ways, we see this in the headlines. People are divided. They don't communicate well. We have great resignations happening. We have all kinds of challenges that we're facing in our workplaces and our communities. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of people suffering and struggling. And there's an opportunity here to figure out how we work with people and get our companies and our communities and organizations working together better. And when we start to develop the skills of emotional intelligence, what we see is that all kinds of outcomes improve. We get better retention of employees, we get better customer relationships, we get higher quality of life, and we're more effective, and our companies are more profitable. And we've been researching this for 25 years. We have tons of data that shows in all kinds of sectors all over the world, you get what you measure. And when you start measuring the skills of emotional intelligence and really committing to embed and grow those in your organization, you get better results. And by the way, that also applies in schools and in community organizations and religious organizations, as well as in businesses. This is this skill set that really unlocks the human capacity to flourish. And right now, there are a lot of people who are not flourishing and a lot of businesses that are not flourishing. And I think we're wasting some of that essential goodness of our human experience. And I'd love to see us change that. And I know that these are skills that are measurable and learnable. They're based in science. And when people grow them, results are better.
It's awesome. And speaking of data and like how many of these assessments have been done? I mean, and I know you're in literally over 100 countries. Give us some of the data on just on 6 Seconds reach. Well,
we work in 200 countries and territories. Our biggest project is actually in partnership with UNICEF World Children's Day, which is the largest emotional intelligence project in the world, as far as I know.
Wow.
All over the world with thousands of volunteers that every year bring these skills to kids. In addition to that, we have certified practitioners in 150 countries. We have offices and partners in over 50 countries, and our assessments are in 30 plus languages. So it's fascinating. I had no intention that we would be working all over the world.
Yeah, and I ask you that question because for those that haven't spent or given too much, that don't really know this space. First off, I've seen a lot of individuals, doing different things within the space. But when I saw your reach, I'm like, wow, that's and you already answered my next question, which is how many languages. I was just trying to kind of in my mind fathom what it takes to build something like that. And also, I just wanted to illustrate that because when we think about the quality of data, the quantity, and what you're doing, I think it's significant. And to me, it seems like this, this brain trust that we're all going to learn from over time that can really affect the fabric of our world in the way that we all interact with each other as humans. It's that big, especially as this grows over time and you find and choose different ways to use the data. I think is really significant. And one thing that I kind of wanted to, for those that maybe aren't as familiar with the idea of emotional intelligence or EQ, like what are some of the steps or the process of practicing emotional intelligence? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so our mission is, our vision is 1 billion people practicing emotional intelligence. And when we say practicing emotional intelligence, we're talking about this 3-step process where you tune in and get the data. And emotions are data. And that's a kind of weird idea in a way, but if you think about the definition of intelligence is accurately acquiring and effectively using data. And that could be mathematical data, and you get your spreadsheet accurate and you figure it out and you make a good budget, right? That's your mathematical intelligence at work. Emotional intelligence, you're going to accurately acquire that emotional data, and then you're going to use that data to make better decisions. And so that's the second step. The first step is getting the data. The second step is to stop and to pause, and instead of reacting on autopilot, to take a moment and switch off the autopilot and say, wait a minute, what are some options that I have? And then the third step is really the Adam step. It's about connecting with purpose and saying, what do I really want to grow? What am I actually committed to? And now that I've switched off the autopilot, I'm connecting beyond myself and saying, what is the opportunity that's right in front of me? And we can do that walking down the hall into a meeting, or switching on Zoom into a meeting.
Yeah.
Taking that one moment of checking in. What am I feeling? What are my options? What do I truly want?
So Josh, a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives that listen to this show, and they're always looking for, tips or tricks or just ideas on how, they can improve their business. So what are some practical tips on how business leaders can use EQ to maybe motivate employees, make good decisions? I mean, growing sales, that's always a big deal. And I guess ultimately, we're all looking to transform our organizations, right? So what are some practical tips?
Well, first of all, I said earlier, you get what you measure.
Yeah.
And I think, in most organizations, we're measuring KPIs around, the number of certain activities that we're doing. And I don't know, if we're doing a good job measuring those things and focusing on those things, we're probably, getting some results in those spaces. I don't think that most organizations are doing a very good job measuring things like trust and our ability to grow trust and our connection with teams. As you think about your own leadership team and the people who report to you or the people that you show up with as a team, is it really a team? Or is it a group of people that are all working in the same, for the same person? So measuring those things allows you to put it on the dashboard. And I don't want to, just be a straight up commercial here and say,
I like commercials. No, we're looking for tips. No, that's not. You're not. Our business owners want tips. They want value. We wouldn't have brought you on the show. I want the commercial. What do we do, man? Help us. Go ahead.
So we publish the best emotional intelligence assessment in the world. It's incredibly practical. It gives you profound insight into yourself and into your people, and it allows you to figure out what are the capacities that you need to strengthen and that you need to help your team strengthen. And then we publish a set of measures around what we call organizational vitality. And so, for example, we measure the trust in teams. And if you aren't sure what the level of trust is in your team, it's time for you to find out and make sure you have enough to accomplish the goals that you have. And if you don't, then we can show you how to grow that.
No, that's great. And tell us a little bit more about the platform and how it works. I'm curious. So we know what you're doing, obviously, but like the user experience specifically, like how hard is this to use? Like how hard is this to integrate into the organization? Like give us a feel for that.
Right. So we have a lot of case studies that we've published around how different kinds of businesses have gone about integrating emotional intelligence.
Mm.
And what I would say is it's really easy to get started and it's not easy to master. So, good news, bad news, right? The research that I've done is it takes about 4 years to really integrate these skills yourself. And I know that's kind of daunting to say, okay, yeah, right, right. You want me to work on this for 90 days? No? 4 years?
Yeah.
I actually would say, like, I've been working on this for 25 years, and I feel like I'm starting to figure out my emotional intelligence. But it's easy to start. And we've seen in just like a 90-day program, for example, with a group of IT managers, they all took the assessment. They had some one-to-one debriefing and coaching, a little bit of training, and emotional intelligence scores went up around 10%. And a 10% increase in emotional intelligence scores, like at our case study at FedEx, when people increased around 10% in emotional intelligence, they started to see massive improvements in their relationships and their effectiveness, and also in employees' quality of life.
It's great. It's a great story, and it's one that I just feel like it's big. It's big long term. It's one of those things that I'm excited to continue watching you on that journey, because I know you're already millions of assessments in. And when you talk about the goal of 1 billion, I'm like, oh man, so many languages, so many things to do. You got some work ahead of you. So, so that being said, Josh, if somebody is listening to this and they want to connect with your team and they want to learn more about the assessment overall, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, we have a huge website, 6seconds.org, and there's a whole library of case studies. There are hundreds of articles. There's free online tools. We have lots of different kinds of e-learning programs. And then when you want to go into more depth, certification programs for people who are in the space of learning and they want to really embed this into their work as coaches, consultants, transformational leaders. And then a large network of people all over the world who are able to help you as an individual leader, as somebody who's saying, I want to do this in my organization. We have partners all over the world who are available to you. So 6seconds.org, you can get lost there. One thing that I will mention is that we have a bunch of different research reports that we put out. I mentioned earlier, State of the Heart is our emotional intelligence data that comes out every couple of years that shows the trends. And I think that's going to be super interesting for people. And then for all of you in business, we published a study called Vitality. And the Vitality report is coming out right now for 2022. And it's going to blow your mind about this data about what makes teams actually work. And it is not what you think. I can't tell you yet because it's still embargoed, but I'm just like, oh, this is so good. Really
Man, come on. Now you have me all excited and you're like, oh, you're killing me here, Josh.
I'll come back on the show for that one.
Oh, man, that's awesome. No, that's great though, seriously. And we'll put the website and all that good stuff in the show notes, and so that our team can so our audience can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time engaging with the Mission Matters platform or listening to an episode, just to let you know, we're all about bringing on entrepreneurs, executives, and experts and having them share, why they do what they do, how they're doing it, what we can all learn and benefit from the content and grow together. If that's the type of content that sounds interesting or fun or motivating to you, we welcome you. Hit that subscribe button, because we have many more mission-based individuals just like Josh coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Josh, really, it has been a pleasure. Wishing you much more continued success, and thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, and thanks everybody for listening.